Good morning, everybody. So glad you're here. We're going to have I think, a really nice, fun class this morning. Just a couple of little things. On Friday, we started a new little practice of opening the chat room after class, just so everyone can say hi. So you can say hi to the people you usually are in class with, and we can just, if you want to. So if you want, you could just go and turn on your camera. We'll unmute everybody at the end. As for today's class, I had suggested a prop, a foam roller or a melt roller, and I realized everyone doesn't have one of those. So I suggested a couple of other ones, and things that might work well is that if you have an extra yoga mat lying around your house, or if you have a poster tube. I did try out a sort of, a little bit as a joke, said the Clorox that we all have, did try it out. Maybe not the best prop, but it gets a little crushed, but threw it in there. But you can use a pillow or you can use a rolled up blanket, and we'll just work with what we have. If you have any problems with that, let us know in the chat, and I'll try to adjust as we go. Today's class, we're gonna do some work around the pelvic floor, because it's just very important, and sometimes it's not included in getting the respect it deserves. So we're gonna do that. And let's get started. So Peter, would you come join us? And let's start standing today and find just a comfortable place on your mat or off your mat. And just let your body arrive, making the adjustments that makes you feel more comfortable on the floor. And just stand and begin to send your mindful eye, your inner eye, inside yourself, inside your body. Noticing your breath. Allowing your breath to breathe. And when you feel comfortable, close your eyes and just feel how you can begin to send roots from your feet deep into the earth, fanning widely, expanding, fastening you to the earth, to the floor, to the ground. And then feeling your ankles, your knees, the areas around your hips and your pelvis, all softening as you move through upward. Feeling your spine as it rises from the pelvis, following the curvature of your spine, up along the upper back, the shoulders, into the cervical spine, the feeling of and the weight of your head on top of your spine, or the sense of your head balancing on top of your spine. And it's very early on, so let your body just feel what it feels, and we'll make adjustments and we'll see how it feels towards the end of the class. Noticing your arms resting and gently hanging along your sides. And for a moment, feel and imagine a string attaching your crown point to the skies above you. And imagine it being a long cord with some give, and imagine your roots into the earth being these long expanding roots with a little bit of give, and just imagine yourself in between, gently swaying in the wind. So you're fastened and secured from above, you're fastened and secured from below, and your body is just swaying in the wind, displacing itself from the center of gravity and from the center line, and finding its way back to the center. And you can move to the front and to the back, to the side. You can create a circle, whichever feels right. Imagining the wind, and imagine as you sway, but yet you feel very stable and secure. And as you do that, allow your breath to enter your body, and allow tension to be released. But just stand and sway in the wind for a moment, just imagining that you're almost weightless, but you're being safely guided away from and back to the center line in all different directions. And then find your way back to what feels like the center of your feet, and slowly open your eyes again. And if you rock to the back of your heels, go ahead and spread your toes as much as you can. Let your toes come away from the floor. If it helps, you can add the same movement with your hands. It helps the brain kind of find where we need to go in the feet. And then slowly release the feet and let them rock back and come back forward enough that your heels come away from the floor. And then rock back onto your heels and let your toes spread and open widely. And slowly come forward and release. Let the heels come away from the floor. And the next time you come back, open and spread your toes as much as you can. Now, see if you can bring the pinky toe down to the floor and then the second toe and the third. And if you need to look down at your feet to see what's happening, go ahead and do that. And then feel as if you could place your feet down onto the floor in that spread fashion. And then gently rock back. Let the toes away, relax them, and let your foot relax back onto the floor and rock to the front. And try that one more time. Rock back to your heels. Open and spread your toes. If it helps, spread your fingers as well. And then place the pinky toe, the next toe, going all the way across to the big toe, and see if you can open up your foot and your toes. And then rock to the back and slowly let them off. Rock to the front again, let the heel come off. Rock to the back. Spread your toes. Place them down one more time and keep them there. Now, once you're there, see if you can lift just the big toe away from the floor and down, up and down. Maybe you can on one side, maybe the other one wants to stick. And then leave the big toe there. See if you can lift the pinky toe away from the floor. All kinds of things happen or not in this one. Keep all the toes down and see if you can keep the big toe and the pinky toe down and lift the toes in between. And rest, let your toes down, let the heels off, and just shake out your feet a little bit. Hard to feel what's happening in the feet sometimes. We really have to look and see what's happening. We're so used to wearing shoes, hands, no problem. We know where everything is, but the feet and the toes, not always so much. All right, let's find our way to the floor gently. Take your roller, whichever shape you have, or a pillow, and let's just start sitting. So if you sit on it, or if you sit on a cushion, find a comfortable position so you can sort of be on top of your sit bones in this. It's just give you a little bit more height. If you're more comfortable in a chair for this one, for this next little one, that's fine too. You can keep your legs in front of you, or you can just rest your legs for a moment to the side. Sit up tall on top of your sit bones, and we'll get everybody just a moment to get organized if you needed to get something else. And just lengthen your spine, feel the crown point reaching high. Feel your sit bones reaching down. And as you're sitting here, turn your head and look to one side, look over to the left side, and reach as far as you can without forcing your body to go anywhere it isn't ready, and return and turn to the opposite side. There. And lift, find that place in the upper back that you can really lift and lengthen, as if you're lifting your ears out of your shoulders as you're sitting here. Breathe on the way through and let your body lengthen. Good. And when you're here, let your chin glide down across the front of your chest. Lift up to the opposite side and reverse. Let your chin glide down, letting the tissues at the back of the neck and the shoulders lengthen comfortably. And make sure you're not forcing your body. You're just using this little movement to encourage some release, to listen to where your body likes to go, where it doesn't like to go. And when you finish this last time, look straight forward. Good. And then place your arms just across and turn so you're looking to one side. And turn across the center and look to the opposite side. And maybe you have a fair amount of range. Maybe there's not so much range. That's okay. Just listening and beginning to open. Inhale as you move through. Exhale as you turn. And one more time to each side. Good. And return. Place your right hand on the floor, your left hand behind your head, and create a little bit of pressure. You're creating a small circle, a slight bend in your elbow so you have a fulcrum. The opposite hand is behind your head, and make sure that the hand is not pulling you forward, but you're almost resting your head up against your hand. As you press in from the heel of your hand, lift your body up and over as if you're lengthening, as you're creating a long arc, a side bend of your body, reaching through the sit bones and through the crown point in a long arc. And then inhale as you release. And continue. Exhale as you send away, feeling as if you can separate the ribs and creating length from the pelvis upward, as if the pelvis and the ribs are coming apart, and then inhaling again, or increasing the space, I should say, increasing the space between the lower ribs and the pelvis, and feeling the opening of the ribs, the rotation of the ribs as they come upward. And again, and one more time on this last time, lift up tall and feel as if you're lifting through the top elbow, pressing through the hand and lifting, creating opposition in the diagonal and also that length in the spine, and return. Come back, switch hands. Left hand is behind the head. Inhale and gently press into the hand on the mat or the floor or the roller and lift up and over. Inhale as you return. Imagine that your body is right between two windows, so you're really feeling that you're coming up and over and return. And getting that sense of lengthening at the side as if you're unwrinkling your shirt on that long side, but you're also unwrinkling the shirt on the lower side. You're feeling long in both directions. And one more time. Lift up, and as you're pausing this last time, feeling the length from your hand on the mat and the elbow towards the opposite direction, and release. Good. All right, and relax, just low, relax, and soften your shoulders. Send your head down to one side, but first place your fingertips right over the collarbones and just let them sort of as if it was a little shelf. And just one. So let's just have the right hand on the collarbone, and then let your head gently lift itself away from, as if you're just allowing all those lateral tissues in the neck to release and breathe. Couple of breaths there, and then return. Place the opposite hand, relax the arm, and let your head drop down. And let's do that one more time to each side. Fingertips on the collarbone, letting your body and the ear reach down towards the opposite shoulder. And once you're there, turn just a little bit as if you're trying to look at the floor. And feel that increase in length around the back and the side of the neck. And breathe there for a moment, trying not to pull, just listening to your body in that position. And one last time to the opposite side. First your fingertip, giving yourself a little bit of an anchor, and then letting your ear reach for the shoulder. And once you have taken up the slack, turn looking towards the floor and feeling how the scalenes, levator scapula, all those deep tissues in the neck and shoulder. And slowly release. Good. All right. Before we lie down on our back and begin to do a little work and start with a little bit of work around the pelvic floor, I just wanted to go over, I still meet people every week in the clinic who have never heard of the pelvic floor, who don't know they have one, who don't know what it refers to. So I just wanted to very briefly go over that. I know that most of you certainly are aware, and we talk about it in class a lot, but it's very important when we do Pilates work. It's very important to engage our pelvic floor in the correct, proper way, and sometimes know how to disengage it, how to relax it as well. So for those who this is new, or just for a little review, the pelvic floor refers to a three-layer series of muscles placed inside the pelvis. So it's shaped almost like a basket inside. So it's not really a floor. It's actually a shape like a basket on the inside. And it has a big role. When we support the pelvis and the hips, we have muscles, and we all know of the glutes and the muscles on the outside. And rarely do we think of the tissues and the fascia on the inside. that plays a very big role in supporting and controlling movement around the pelvis and the hips. It also has the big role of supporting everything inside of us when we are standing, the organs and the whole body when we are standing on 2 feet, as we as a species chose to do that. It has a huge role in the core. It's a big part of the core muscles. So the core muscles that typically identified is the pelvic floor, the diaphragm, the transverse abdominis, which is one of the deepest abdominal muscle, and the multifidi, the small crisscross muscles along the spine. So they all need to work in a very synchronized, dynamic way in order to create efficient support and just the right amount of stiffness and support for the spine and the body to be able to move continuously and effortlessly through space. So let's lie down onto the back in a comfortable position and just begin to play with this a little bit. So if you lie this way, head that way. Yeah. So find a place. You might want a little cushion under your head just to be comfortable for a moment. And let you start with your arms on along your side and your legs comfortable and perhaps the legs just a little bit wider than usual, a little bit. And then just start by letting your legs and your feet roll inward towards each other and away from each other. Just allow them to roll in and roll away for a moment. There. And you can do it sort of loosely, just allowing. And what you're just noticing now is movement, not in your feet, not in your knees, but in your hips. So this is your femoral head just rolling in the hip socket. Your pelvis should be relaxed. Your pelvic floor should be pretty relaxed on this one. We often hear of the pelvic floor as having weakness when someone has a tendency or feels it's a problem that they feel a leaking if they cough or they jump. But sometimes we also have too much tension around. So we need to be able to engage it properly. We need to be able to relax properly as well. And then let your legs rest right where they are. You can choose this position or you can bend your knees if you're more comfortable that way. For now, sense with you might have to touch and feel where it is, but if you can sense where your sit bones are, now draw your sit bones towards each other and then release them. Now again, a feeling of where the sit bones are, an idea and an imagination that you are drawing them towards each other and then releasing them and letting them come apart. Now, they're not truly moving a lot. This is a sense of taking up tension in the tissues. Try it again. If you are not sure, if you think that you might be grabbing with your glutes a little bit, you can place your fingertips right under your buttocks and notice. And if you feel tension there, see if you can unclench that. And just a couple more times, give yourself that idea of drawing your sit bones towards the center, right towards the center of the body at the bottom, right at the perineum, and releasing. And you can do it at your own pace. And one more time. And then release. Good. Now release right there. Now start at the top and the bottom. Imagine that you can feel your pubic bone and your tailbone now drawing towards each other. Finding a place right at the center and releasing. And again, imagine your pubic bone and your tailbone drawing towards each other. And then slowly releasing back towards the ceiling and back towards the floor. If this is continue a couple more times, if it's hard, don't fight it. Just try to imagine it. Try to sense the movement. And one last time, as you exhale, perhaps let it draw together. As you inhale, release. Good. Now, this next little part of this exercise is called the drawstring bag. So you'll see. Now bring your sit bones together in the center. Pause right there. At the top and the bottom, the pubic bone and the tailbone. Find a point right in the center. Now imagine that you have a string from that center at the bottom of your body to your diaphragm. And imagine that you're drawing that point or the drawstring bag up along that line, upward towards your diaphragm or lifting it. And then allow it to glide back down And then release front to back, side to side. How was that? And again, from the sides, bring the sit bones together, finding that point at the front and the back. Imagine that line drawing or lifting gently and continuously towards your diaphragm or towards your belly button, and then let it glide down. Sometimes it slips here. It can be much harder, that eccentric release, but it's important. And then release front to back and side to side. And just one more time. Inhale. On the exhale, draw the sit bones together. Bring this front to back together. Lift towards the diaphragm. Slowly release, lowering. Release front to back and side to side, and relax. Now the good news is that as we do movement, we want to make sure that we're not bearing down. I see it in Pilates a lot, and we see it with people who exercise and think they exercise really well, that sometimes we actually misunderstand. We actually think we are, and we see it with professionals, we think we are engaging the pelvic floor properly, which is that gentle lift that should match the exertion of the exercise. And sometimes we actually see that people in their effort end up bearing down and pushing downward, and we want to avoid that at all costs. So the good news on this is that if you use your breath in movement and on the exertion exhale, that actually engages the pelvic floor. So if your breath cycle is natural and is engaged the way we usually instruct it, your pelvic floor will follow that. So let's see. Let's bring our knees up. If your knees are straight, legs are straight, go ahead and bend your knees. Place your ankles, your knees aligned with your sit bones. Bring your arms just out to the side a little bit further, and let your knees glide to your left side. And inhale as you glide through to the center. And exhale as you let your legs glide to the opposite side. Good. And inhale as you glide to the center. Right now, your pelvic floor can be pretty relaxed. There's not a whole lot of effort required because you're lying down. Gravity is not a factor. Although you will know, go ahead and exhale as you send over. Inhale, and on the exhale, begin to lower your ribs on one side back to the floor. Let your body release and open. Inhale at the top of the movement, and on the exhale, begin to lower your ribs just a little bit at a time. And you can begin to listen to your pelvic floor even through this movement, especially if you're someone who's done it lots of times and you're pretty familiar with finding that spiraling movement along the spine. If you exhale, you'll notice that there's a little engagement around the pelvic floor, and then a release when you let your body go. So it happens everywhere. It should happen everywhere. And one more time to each side. Roll back and open. Inhale at the top. Exhale as you slowly spiral, letting the ribs and the spine find the floor until you've drawn back to the floor. And then one last time. And slowly glide back. Good. Pause this time when your legs are vertical. Arc your arms up and over until your hands are nicely interlaced underneath the base of your skull. Good. Make sure you can just see your elbows. And just for a moment, send the elbows towards the floor. Let the elbows come towards the floor. Let your ribs flare. Let the ribs come away from the floor, creating a long arc under your back. And then on the next exhale, bring the ribs to the floor. And notice how your elbows come up just a little bit so you have them within your peripheral vision again. Draw the backside of your shoulders, the backside of your arms, the elbows to the floor, and let everything open, extend, feel that length, almost like you have created an arc from your top of your spine to your sacrum. Almost as if there was no space all under you, between you and the floor. And then let the back of the ribs lead and find the floor. And notice how your elbows and your length of your body will follow. And one more time, let your body Inhale and open, inhale on the opening, allowing that extension, allowing the flaring of the ribs, allowing the movement of the ribs and the spine. And on the exhale, draw back. Good. Now pause right there. Next time your elbows are within peripheral vision, gently bring your chin towards your throat on your inhale. And as you exhale, begin to roll up into the chest lift, looking towards your knees. And inhale as you lower back down. Continue. And as you continue now, inhale at the top. As you exhale, feel as if your sit bones are coming together. So you almost feel a coming together towards the center of your body. And as you inhale, allow the release. And exhale as you roll up, feeling the sit bones coming together, the ribs drawing towards your heart, your eyes looking through your knees, and slowly roll down. Make sure the sit bones and the pelvic floor doesn't release all at once, but gradually matching your load, matching the requirements for the movement. 2 more times. Exhale, feeling the sit bones coming together, the rolling up. And inhale as you slowly roll back down and let go. Good. Arc your arms down and bring them down along your side. Inhale, press into your feet gently, roll into your shoulder bridge, starting at the tailbone, the pelvis, 1 vertebra at a time until you feel you're standing on the back of your shoulders, making sure you're not standing on the head, but really feeling the support across the shelf at the top. And then inhale and slowly articulate your spine as you find your way back down. This is a great exercise for practicing the sensation of the pelvic floor. So again, inhale. Exhale as you press into the floor and feel your sit bones drawing together, the front, the back. Feel that connection and lengthen your spine until you're all the way back in your neutral spine position. Relax around your shoulder and your neck. Good. Let your sacrum float a little bit and let your ribs drop down just a hair. Inhale and then slowly lower back down. So lots of options of things to focus on in this one. It never gets old, even if we've done it a ton of times. There you go. So again, inhale, exhale, notice the engagement of the pelvic floor, notice the length of your body, that connection, that oppositional connection, as if your crown point is reaching in one direction and your knees are reaching in the direction of your toes. Inhale at the top and slowly lower. And you'll still feel the connection in your pelvic floor all the way as you keep it elevated and you roll down underneath your pelvis. And only at the very end, release your pelvis and release your pelvic floor. 1 more time. Inhale, exhale as you roll up. Reach through your knees, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Pause there. Arc your arms up and over until it's over your head towards the floor. Keep your arms there. And this time when you roll back down, keep your arms there and slowly imagine that you're rolling away from your arms as you lower yourself back down. And at the very end, let the pelvis find the floor and release and arc your arms all the way back down. Good. Now reach out and find your roller, your version of a roller or a cushion, something that can take your weight, and you're gonna hold it right underneath you bring it right underneath your pelvis this time. Good. So you're gonna place it, move my stuff out here. There you go. Bring one leg up into 90-90 and bring the other leg up into 90-90. Good. And for a moment, just bring your knees towards you a little bit and allow, you can hold on with your hands and you can just allow, you can also hold a hand on your knees if you're comfortable. Just allow that lumbosacral junction, that fascia in the low back to just open and release as you just breathe into the small of the back for a moment. Just breathe into that, feeling long through the neck, allowing the ribs to gently drop down towards the mat. And just enjoy that position for a moment. And then begin with a pivot point of your hips to imagine that you're draping your tailbone down towards the floor on the opposite side, just a little bit. And then bring the knees back over as if your pubic bone is drawing down and draping itself towards the floor on the opposite side. So you're draping your pelvis over, rocking it over a little bit, and then coming back. And you want to go only so far as you lower your legs, keeping your breath, that your ribs remain and your spine remains on the, in the initial position. And come back. Good. And again, rock back and neck. If it feels like you go lower and your lower ribs begin to come away from the floor, then go a little bit less in that direction. There. And just one more time. And lower. And return. Pause right there. Good. Extend your left leg straight to the ceiling. Extend your left leg straight out, right leg, I'm sorry, out so it's parallel to the floor. Good. Now switch the two legs. There. That's good. So flex the ankle on the leg that's reaching towards the ceiling. Point the toes on the leg that's towards the floor. And now switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. One more with each. And switch. And switch. Bring both legs up so they're pointing straight to the ceiling. Good. Let them come apart a little bit and just rotate down, circle down, and lift up through the center. So circle out, inhale to the top, and exhale out. You can create a small circle. You can create a little bit bigger circle as long as the back of the body feels connected to the floor. And as long as you feel supported and as long as you feel comfortable. And now let's go ahead and reverse. Lower, inhale up, and exhale down. Inhale, lift. That sense of sweep and lift. And one more, sweep and lift. Pause now. Now we're going to have fun. We're going to do a combination of the two called the helicopter. So if you go into your, let's say you send your right leg down, left leg is still towards the ceiling. Now let one leg circle down and up, the other up and down, and then switch into your, so this is a scissor kick and circle and scissor. So this is the helicopter and switch, not too fast, and switch and circle and switch and circle. One more and circle. Now let's switch and switch. Now go the opposite direction, around and up, and around and up. And create just a circle that's comfortable for you, for your hip. It can be a small circle, it can be pizza size, it can be very large, depending on you, your comfort. There, and one more. And rest. Bring your knees towards your chest and just rest for a moment again. Good. All right. Go ahead and bring your legs to the ceiling again. There you go. Open your legs to the side. Bring them towards the center. And a little chasse, a little one foot in front and the other foot in front and the first foot in front. And open again. Come back and then behind, front and behind and open and front, back and front and open and behind, front and there and open. Good. We're going to do the same thing. You're going to lower your legs just a little bit, about 45 degrees. Open. Come in and go 1, 2, 3, and open. Switch. 2, 3, and open. Switch. 2, 3, and open. One more. And open and pause. Go a little bit deeper yet. See if you can keep, you imagine your legs are resting on a rooftop that's sort of, slanted, and then go ahead again to the side. Keep that 1, 2, 3, and open. 1, 2, 3, and open. 1, 2, 3, and open. Last 3, and open, and bring your knees towards you. Give yourself a little rest again. Good. All right. Yeah. One more time, legs towards the ceiling. This time, bicycling. And see if you can really feel that you are allowing the legs to reach towards the floor. So you can feel that you're taking the time to get that length, almost like the heel is reaching towards the floor and gliding. And then reverse, down along and up and reach and reach and up, and 2 more. Long, take your time, no rush. Feel the length, allowing the tissues to release. and send your legs straight to the ceiling. Pause right there. Circle your feet as if you're drawing a circle on the ceiling. And then reverse the circle. Doesn't have to be a big one. Now create like a figure 8 on the ceiling. Down and through, or it can be a sideways one, of infinity sign. Yeah. Good. And pause again. Hold on to your right knee with your hands. Bend your left leg and let the left leg out along the side. Let it rest on the mat. And use this moment to allow a release along the front of the hip flexors. So this is just a position to allow your body a release, to allow an opening, to allow a softening of the hip flexors. Remembering that they start, the ones that bend our hips, that we keep shortened when we're sitting in our cars and our computers and everything else we're doing in so much of our culture and life. So allowing that length from the inside of the hip through the pelvis, and then remembering that the muscle actually goes all the way up to the spine, to almost to the ribs. So actually it starts there and goes down towards the hip, but it goes all the length from almost the where the ribs are on the spine, through the pelvis to the hip and to the femur. So allowing that length to happen and just encouraging that idea of melting and softening and elongation as you're lying in this position. So not trying to make it stretch, but allowing it to release. So just encouraging that softness. Are you soft in your pelvic floor right now? Are you releasing the pelvic floor? Can you feel the sit bones releasing? And can you see how that, or feel how that allows more lengthening of tissues around? And when you feel long in that side, go ahead and bring your left knee up, send your right leg down along the side, and really pause there for a moment. Start by feeling the softening, allowing the weight of the leg, using the roller as a fulcrum to allow that length and opening at the front of the hip all the way up, and just imagining that sense of release up and along the whole fascial sheath of the tissues and the muscles. There you go. And breathe into it and feel your pelvic floor feeling soft. Good. All right. Next time you take a breath, let the foot glide in, bring your one foot onto the floor, bring the other foot onto the floor, lift and just let your roller away from you. Good. And let's turn onto the side. So you're now facing front, and you on your left side or your right side. And come all the way down to the floor. Let your head rest right in your hand. Good. All right. And lift the ribs away from the floor, that feeling of lifting and lowering. And creating an arc, creating a long arc, as if you're creating space underneath from the hip to the shoulder and lower. And you can think of it as lifting your ribs away from the floor and lowering your ribs, or you can think of it as lengthening through your sit bone and through your crown point, and finding that length in your body that also will take up slack and lengthen your spine, and softly lower back down. And again, lift up. Notice just for a moment as you're doing this, and particularly if you're comfortable and used to this one, notice what's happening in your pelvic floor when you're lifting and lengthening. Is there that sense of coming together at the bottom of the body as your tissues are connecting? And as you release, can you feel how those tissues also release? Or do you tend to hold on all the time? So maybe there's a little work and attention, that, an area that needs attention, so that we can find that we are, just as we are engaging and releasing elsewhere in the body, that the pelvic floor can follow that flow of the movement. Okay, good. All right. Go ahead. Next time your body feels aligned with the floor in terms of your spine, send your top leg long, send your top arm in the opposite direction, and really feel long. Good. Then bring your top leg behind you. Rotate just a little bit as if your breastbone is trying to look towards the floor. And now let your arm reach in the one diagonal and your heel reach in the opposite diagonal. So you're gently tilting forward, coming forward, so you're getting into a diagonal. So the leg reaches back, the arm reaches forward. So you're a little bit more forward here. There you go. And then reach, so you have that diagonal. Good. Inhale, and as you exhale, let the ribs rotate. Leg stays behind. Reach, 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 getting that length as if you're trying to have your breastbone look towards the floor. And inhale as you return back to your side. Good. One more time. Exhale as you feel long. Once you're there this time, pause. Let the lower leg lift towards the ceiling as if the heel is reaching to the ceiling, and lower it down. And lift. Lower. And lift. And lift. And lift, and lift, and lift. Keep lengthening, lengthening. One more time. Feel really long. Come back to your position and bend your knees right there. Good. Place your hands right behind your head again. And let's do the opening just from this position. Just keep feeling wide through your elbows, and just opening, keeping your knees and your hips aligned, and opening into your book opening from this position. And then go ahead and close your book and bring your elbows towards each other. And open. Feel how your shoulder blade opens and your elbows reaching for the floor, and you feel the back of your ribs reaching for the floor. Inhale as you come forward, and close the book and let your elbows come together. And a couple more times. Open and reach back as if the breastbone is looking to the sky, and breathe. And bring it together. And once more, up. And lengthen. And lower back down. Good. All right. Go ahead and take your rollers, sit up for a moment. And if you can, have your legs on one side. You can either have the position, or you can have the legs together this way on the side. So which is comfortable for you. You want to have your roller next to you. Yeah, this good? Yeah. Sitting up tall. Now go ahead and let your hand glide on top of the roller. There you go. And glide down into a long side length. Let the top leg lengthen in the opposite direction. Inhale and reach back up to sit. And exhale long. And inhale back and home. And again, exhale long. Reach. Inhale home. One last time. Exhale long. Pause right here. You can choose to keep your top arm where it is, or you can place it in front of you. And then you can lift the leg just a few times. And 2, and 3, and 4, maybe 2 more. And lift, and lift, and lift, and roll yourself back up to sitting. Good. Let's switch side. Come all the way down to your side. I'm sorry, let me move this over here. There you go. Collage. There we go. Lying on your side, right hand underneath your head, and lift your ribs away from the floor, and lower them back to the floor, and lift them away, and lower, and begin to sense that sense of length, the length through the crown point and sit bones, and release. Imagining that you are moving and negotiating the shape of your spine inside your body laterally, and you're doing it very lovingly, very gently. So it's not about getting there, it's sort of sensing the support as you lift and lengthen, and sense the support as you release. And then pay attention to your pelvic floor. What's happening inside your pelvis, in and around? Are you grabbing with the glutes? Are you grabbing with the pelvic floor? Are you releasing as you're releasing elsewhere? So feel that whole coming together. So even though this is a small exercise, a whole lot going on if you try to find that balance and ease and efficiency in how you engage and recruit the tissues around needed for the movement. Next time you're in your neutral position, pause right there. Send the top leg long, send the top arm in the opposite direction. Reach and feel long and create and allow the length. Then rotate gently forward as if the breastbone is looking at the floor. The heel is looking to the back, and you're creating a diagonal in the room. There you go. So allowing your body to turn and rotate. So the ribs are trying, the left side of the ribs are trying to look at the floor, and you're getting that lengthen up position. Inhale as you release. And one more time, exhale and lengthen. And once you're there this time, heel is pointing to the ceiling, lift up and lower, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Keep feeling long through the crown point, long through the fingertips. There, 2 more, and lift, and gently bring your leg home, bring your body back, and release. Good. Place your hand behind your head, both of them, there, and bring your elbows together in the front to start, there. And then begin to glide your shoulder blade behind your body, open, leaving your hips aligned, and allowing the body to open into a little modified book opening here, and then draw from the front. And once again, as you're creating this movement, notice if your pelvic floor takes part. In this part, when you're opening and releasing, you might feel that the sit bones come apart, that they just kind of release and let go. When it's time to return, connect the ribs, exhale, find the sit bones coming together, find the pelvic floor, gently recruiting as you draw your body back home. Again, this is a gentle amount because you are still lying down, but there's still that communication of the tissues to connect and create this appropriate amount of recruitment around the tissues as you move. And one more time, feeling the opening, allowing everything to release right here, allowing the breath to enter you. And one more time, return. Good. All right, and release your hands. Come up to sitting. And take your roller on this side. Good. You can choose the mermaid position, or you can have your legs over each other. Either one is fine. From here, let your body roll to the side. Let the leg hover above the floor so you feel long. Inhale as you glide back and up and come back to sitting. And again, glide out and release. And inhale. You can choose if you want to leave your foot gliding on the floor. If you don't have a roller, if you're using a pillow, you can do this right on the floor. You don't necessarily need a roller for this one. So lots of options here. You can also, if this one is hard if it's hard to extend the leg, you can choose to leave your legs there and glide back up. Although I find it easier because you're getting the opposition, you're getting the ballast on the opposite side. And 2 more, roll back up. And just the last one, roll back. Good. Pause this time at the top of the movement and lift the leg to the ceiling. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. Good. Lower your leg and roll back up to sitting. Good. Find a place on the floor, sitting with your legs about the width of the mat, open about the width of the mat. If you need a cushion or a pillow behind you, that's just fine for this one. Have your roller or your shape, whichever you have near you. So I will face this direction so you can see. Sitting up tall on top of your sit bones. And let the roller roll out to your feet. And then lift it up through space. Let it come down along your front. And roll it out. And lift to the top. And roll back. Now reverse. Roll up your body to reach forward. Lengthen all the way out. Let the roller come towards you. And lift up tall. So this goes all the way out in the spine stretch. If you have osteoporotic concerns, you can choose to keep your spine long and flat and keep sort of a flat back, neutral spine with this one. Or you can choose, let's do it one more time on this one. You can choose to lengthen all the way and roll back. Good. Now take your roller, same position. Rotate, so one arm is forward, one arm is back, you're sitting up tall. Now lower that end of your roller down to the floor on the outside of your leg. A little bit of a version of the saw. Turn to the opposite side and lower it to the floor. Inhale up and turn and lower to the floor. And up and turn and lower. One more time to each side. Reach up and switch. And setting it down as far down as you can on the outside of your leg, and the last time. And turn. Good. Now, take your roller, and you don't need a roller for this particular one. These are all just using the prop, but sitting up tall, turn. Place it down on the floor, or just place your hands on the floor. Now rotate down and lift your leg high. Press up again, lift through, come to the opposite side, small push up there, a push down, and press, lift the leg high, and lift up tall. Again, one more to each side, rotate, hands on the opposite side, raise the leg, and lower. And once more. And lower into your push-up, raise the leg, and lift up tall. Good, and rest. All right, let the roller rest for a little bit. Still sitting up tall, sitting on top of your sit bones, hands right behind your hips. Now lift the breastbone, reach for the ceiling, give yourself a little upper back extension and left, and lengthening, and inhale as you release. And exhale as you lift up. And inhale. Now you can choose to continue just like this, or you can lift up and send your body up into a tabletop position here, and lower. And again. And lower, and two more. Picking your position, whether you're going through for the bridge or the tabletop position, or whether you're lifting as if you had a small hand supporting the breastbone and lifting and lengthening the spine right there. Bring your arms around your legs and just give yourself a little rest here. Good. All right. Let's come on to the front of your body and come all the way down. So you're lying on your tummy, forehead is hovering above the floor, hands are right next to your shoulders, elbows are pointing towards the ceiling. Go ahead and press into your hands enough that you imagine that you're bringing your breastbones to look to the front of the room, and inhale as you're lowering and your gaze glides back down. So pressing your hands in, feeling as if your shoulder blades are gliding along the backside of your ribs, and feeling as if your elbows are reaching for your pocket, for your back pocket, and lowering back down. Two more times, press down and lengthen. And inhale. And one more time. This time, bring your hands forward and just place your hands in front and your forehead resting onto the hands. Send your left leg a little higher than the right. So continue to cross the left leg over the right and let your body reach to the opposite diagonal. Slowly start the movement back under your ribs, lowering one rib at a time until your pelvis is square to the floor, and softly lower the leg to the floor. Now try the right. Lift up. reach from the back, using the whole back side of your body. So we're not reaching with the foot, you're using your whole body to lengthen and open. And then on the next inhale, bring your body back, keeping the leg elevated, keep it elevated until you're all the way square to the floor, and then lowering back down. And one more time on the left, and reach long. Good. Inhale on your way back, and lower. And once more, bend away. And inhale as you return. Good. All right. Let your arms down along your sides. Palms are facing up. Let your arms float just above the floor. Reach on the next inhale, reach, and then on your exhale, reach longer so your upper back comes away from the floor. Perhaps your legs are coming away from the floor. So here we are in the dart position, pausing there. Inhale as you lower your body back down. You can either keep your forehead pointing towards the floor, you can turn your cheek and rest your head. And then exhale as you reach through your hands, feeling the upper body come away from the floor. And inhale as you lower back down. 2 more. Exhale and reach away. Inhale as you lower back down. And one more time, reach far and away. Pause here. This time, press your palms to the ceiling as if you're lifting the ceiling away with the back of your arms, and then draw them back along your side. So it's a pumping, but it's really long and slow. And pump. And lower. And feel the length through your crown point. You're still looking. Your gaze should be sort of somewhat towards just in front of your body onto the mat. And 2 more. And back. And again, bring your hands to the sides of your shoulders, lower your legs, roll up into a full swan, sit back, leave your hands where they are, sit back towards the child pose. Now roll through as if you're doing a cat back, as if you're rounding your spine as you lift yourself up and over. Let your pelvis come back to the floor and glide back. Press into your hands, lift and lengthen, feeling the support through your spine. Roll up, glide back into a child pose, leaving your hands where they are, as if you're sending your pelvis in the opposite directions of your arms. And then round up by sending the tailbone down, feeling the support through the small of your back, up through your shoulders and your rib cage, all the way as your breastbone and head pivot through the shoulders and roll back down. And again, glide up into your swan position. Sit back towards your heels, reaching away from your hands on the floor. And glide up, send the tailbone down, lift and wave through your spine, come all the way up and over, allowing the pelvis down, pivot your breastbone through so your breastbone is looking to the front, and now your gaze and roll down. And just one more time. And press up. And roll back. This time, spiral your way through and your cat back until you're on hands and knees, and just walk up until your hands are under your shoulders and your knees are under your hips. And then from there, send one leg away from you, send the opposite arm away from you, and lower back down. And switch side. And lower back down. Good. Again, extend and lengthen. Take a moment in that position and make it bigger and taller and longer and own it. So it's really yours and you're really feeling balanced. Your pelvis is neutral. And then lower back down. And try the opposite side. And reach and lengthen. Good. And take a moment. If you feel, imagine there's a glass of water on the back of your pelvis. Make sure it's not spilling to the side. So lower a little bit here. There. Feeling the length in your body and lower back down. Good. All right. From here, I'm going to do a little push-up. So you can choose to keep this position, or you can choose to come up in a full plank position, or you can choose to be on your knees and just bring your hands forward a little bit. So feeling long wherever you're at. And so from here, lowering your body towards the floor and pressing back up and lowering and pressing back up and lowering and pressing back up. And 2 more if you have it in you. Exhale down and press up. And the last one, stay down this time. Lower your body down. Leave your elbows on the floor. Come up onto your elbows and forearms. So we're going to do the 8-point plank here from here. And what all you do is you leave your lower legs, your knees on the floor. You leave your elbows and your hands. And you just lift your pelvis and your hips away and create a long spine in this position. And hold it for a moment. Maybe count of 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and gently lower back down. And try it one more time. Lift up into your plank. You can curl your toes under, and you can extend your legs in that position if you want, or you can leave your legs right where they were. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and lower back down. Bring your hands under you, roll up onto your knees. Place your hands in front, walk your feet towards your hands. Let your head and your shoulders and your arms feel heavy towards the floor. And imagine that the top of the head is resting on the floor. And take just a moment here in this position to let everything feel nice and relaxed. To let your back of your knee soften if you need to bend the knees a little bit. And then on the next breath in, send the tailbone down. Begin to roll up. Standing. And one last time, letting your hands glide to the front. Roll down the front, taking your time, little at a time, softening the knees when you need to, taking that moment at the bottom of the movement where you just notice where you are on your feet. So if you feel that your weight just shifted back to your heels, see if you can find the weight right in the middle of the foot, and then roll back up. Good. And rest. Good. All right. Well done. Let's just do a little bit of balance work here towards the end. Shift your weight over to your right leg and then shift it to the left, and just find that place, just as we have just talked about, that feeling of connecting the sit bones, connecting the tissues, and begin to notice what happens when you use that strategy. Because most of movement success has to do with strategy. Little has to do with strength. Some has to do with flexibility, but most really has to do with breath and strategy of movement. How have we wired our brain and our neural pathways to create this movement, or to create a desired result of movement? So if we can begin to rewire, if we can get some breath in there, and by the way, the idea of the pelvic floor, if we hold our breath, not so much going on there. So keeping your breath flowing, always. I can't think of any time that it's a good idea to hold our breath. Yeah. What did you say? Underwater. Underwater, there we go. This time as you're on your right leg, let your left knee move in front and let it move to the side. You can choose to have a door or a wall or a chair next to you. You can choose to trace your foot on the floor, or you can let your foot float above the floor and just get that nice little movement of the internal and external rotation of your hip. Yeah. And you're noticing pretty quickly that you're focusing on the movement of the leg that's moving. And who is really working really hard is a standing leg, which is doing the same movement in the opposite direction while loaded. So notice that movement in and around the hip as you're turning the standing or the top leg. And after the next time, switch your leg over. Lengthen, feeling that support. And once you feel supported, either with your toes tracing on the floor, or floating above the floor, or having something that you're holding on to a little bit, as much as necessary, but as little as possible. Then let the movement happen in the hip and the leg. Relaxing your shoulders, your face, your breath. There. Then imagine you're just sweeping and internal and external rotation as you're balancing, and then noticing all the work going on in and around the hip, and yes, in the pelvic floor as well. They're never separate. And then slowly lower your leg down to the floor. Sit into your legs just a little bit. Turn your left foot or your right foot, doesn't matter, place the other one on the toe. The opposite hand of the leg that's on the toe lifts itself up into a crane. There you go. White crane spreads its wings and open. So both hands come together in the front. They glide along the midline. As they cross, one foot goes behind and you open. And they go to the front and open. And glide. The rising hand goes on the outside. Watch what's behind you. You are moving back just a little bit. You can't take any more steps. And one more time. Once you're in your last position, feel really tall. Imagine that your palms of your hands are reaching against a sphere, an egg-shaped sphere perhaps, and feel the expansion of your tissues. And then slowly finish. Close your eyes, noticing your feet standing on the floor, sensing your body standing here. And with your mindful eye, scan through your body. Imagine that your body really starts as the root into the earth, and it ends suspended or connected to the sky or the heavens above. And imagine that your energy is all within you, and it's also on the outside. So if you can sense, or if you can take a moment to pay attention or listen to that sensation of energy, you might sense a vibration, you might sense it as breath, you might not sense anything and just imagine it, but a sensation of how wide and tall and long we really are beyond our physical body as we're standing here. And noticing the vibration within that, the life within it, the sense that we are standing still and yet we are full of life and activity. Notice your pelvic floor as you're standing here. Are you holding on? Are you not doing anything? Or do you feel that there's just a slight connection that somehow matches your breath and the requirements of standing here? Just listening, just noticing. At the very last moment here, make a goal for yourself for your day, a goal that's attainable, and see yourself successfully attaining that goal. It could be calling a friend, it could be building a house, anything that's realistic for you. Seeing something you'd like to see happen today, clearly in your mind. On your next breath in, slowly open your eyes, moving your hands and your feet. And you're ready for your day. Thank you for being here. Great work. Please continue to give me comments either in the chat or in an email to let me know what's good, what's not good, what we can do to improve. And we're just going to open for the chat for a moment in case anyone wants to say hi to each other, to me. So have a great day, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Bye now.